Hi, how's everyone doing?
Hello, very good.
Nice, nice, nice.
Hello, Jan. How are you?
Wow, I'm
Hi.
very well. Everybody's happy today. I like that. All right, so let's move on really quickly because of time. Hi, Sophia. Welcome, 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 welcome. It's good to see you. Sophia, did you hear my welcome?
Hi, I didn't hear. Good evening.
Hi, how are you? So good to see you again.
I'm good. I should tell you that I'm up to date. I am completely up to date. I just haven't
Amazing.
submitted my last assignment and I will.
No problem, no problem. Welcome everyone. So I'm going to share my screen now. And I'm continuing from where I stopped last time on typography, right? And we're going to move on from there until we move into designing the logo and all of that this morning. All right, are we good?
Yes.
Feedback. Awesome, thank you. All right, so while we're still considering things you should consider before you design. All right, so here's typography, and if your design has some text in it, you must consider what font you should use, right? How much the size of your font will be, right? The audience will not get the real vibe if things are not written with perfect typography. All right, so you need to pay attention to what type of font you're going to use. So there are many considerations. You're either trying to design based on style or based on audience. Okay, so typically, right, let me explain how it works in real life. In real life, most times the graphic designer is not designing directly from himself to the customer. The graphic designer is usually in most cases designing for a brand. So whatever the brand represents is what you try to portray, right? So it means that you would have to understand that well enough to know the kind of fonts to use and all of that, okay? And if you're creating a brand entirely, it means you also need to understand this so you can know what type of fonts to use when you're creating a brand. So when we're designing a logo, we're going to go into all of this, all right? And it matters most when you want to draw people's attention to your design. The wrong typography will define your design in a wrong way. All right. So this is a miniature version of a presentation I'm going to share with you now. So I'm going to share another screen with you, which is an introduction to typography. All right. So I want you to pay attention as well. Are we good?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you. I love the feedback. Please keep it up.
Yes, sir.
All right. So what is typography? This is a long story, but basically, good typography comes from paying attention to tiny details, right? And it can make the difference between work that is average and work that is really good, okay? And typography is majorly the mastery or manipulation of type, right? Type, or what we call text, okay? And it's as old as hundreds of years, obviously, because we've had to be in communication, right? So from typical handwriting to the most complex form of graphic design, all right? So typography spans across all those levels, all right? So typography, right? We misuse these things many times. Typeface of font, all right. That's why many times you hear me say stuff like type instead of font, and I'm sure many of you might not understand why. So designers are often unsure of the difference between these two as they are confused for being the same thing, all right. But a typeface is a set of fonts in the same family, all right. So Arial is a typeface, all right, which is what we will most likely call a font, okay? But typically it's a font family. And in the font family of Arial, we have Arial narrow, Arial rounded, Arial black, Times New Roman, Times New Roman regular, italic, semi-bold, Century Gothic, right? So all these are actual fonts. A font is a single font that has a single weight or a style within a typeface family. Okay, so don't mix them up. All right. So when I say what font am I using, I'm being specific about the exact type in the context of. That's why if I say I'm using Arial as opposed to Arial bold, then I'm using it wrongly. Okay, so a typeface is a font family, but a font is the actual font. So imagine that Arial narrow, Arial rounded, bold, and Arial black are siblings, right? But they all belong to, this is their surname, Arial. Okay, so narrow area, round, bold area, black area. All three brothers have the same father, which is typeface, which is Arial. All right, so typeface is the parent, and the specific full names are the font. Okay. Now, I've explained, now we're going to classifications of typefaces, all right? I already explained serif and sans serif earlier, okay? So we don't have to go over this, but just to go over it again, serif typefaces are more traditional, right? They have that tiny little feet or arms hanging off the end of the letter strokes, and typically they add a thick or thin look to the letter, all right? So they are considered the easiest font to read, and they are often used as body copy. So the reason why it will make sense is, I mean, if you did projects, for most people who did their projects in Nigeria, they will tell you to use Times New Roman. Most academic journals tell you to use Times New Roman, even if it's international, right? So that's one of the major reasons, all right? Sans serif, as the name suggests, means no serifs, all right? So they have even weights over the stroke, all right? And they are much newer than serif fonts, obviously. That's why somehow it feels like serif typefaces have a vibe of tradition, while sans serif typefaces have a vibe of modern, okay, because sans serifs are newer than serifs, all right? Yeah, Helvetica is the most universal sans font as it's used all around the world, so especially among designers, all right? And let me tell you for free, many designers hate Comic Sans. Okay, so I mean, I don't hate it, but it's a joke that many design. I mean, some people don't take it as a joke, some people take it seriously. So be careful around Comic Sans. All right, so we have typical examples now. How do you decide which one to work for your project? So the serif, Baskerville, Clarendon, Garamond, Georgia, Trajan, sans serif, Arial, Futura, Impact, Myriad, or Tahoma. Okay, they're all different types of fonts, but how do you determine which is which for your projects? I'm going to go over that in the next presentation as well, but I'll touch on it here. Right, so first, you have to start out by considering serif fonts as fancy fonts. Okay, fancy because of the embellishment. All right, an embellishment is the serif that we see there. Okay, and yeah, in case you didn't know, the reason why this course is called the serif is, so you know, the serif is like an extra thing that's added to the text, right? So so my wife came up with it actually, and it's supposed to signify, you know, the extra touch to making you a finesse, like to finessing your design skills, basically. So yeah, in case you were wondering. All right. So serif fonts can be associated with words like classy, refined, expensive, you know, and stuff like that. So if these words resonate with your target audience, then those are the kind of fonts you want to use. All right. So you can see refined, fancy, elegant, expensive, classy. All right. Yeah, and I mentioned earlier about Times New Roman. This is standard for all written articles because it's the most common font found in newspapers. All right, and they associated it obviously with importance and seriousness, so it became one of the most popular typefaces in the world. All right, sans serif, right? Sans serifs come with, you know, without the embellishment. So they tend to get associated with words like clean, modern, straightforward, and sometimes, although not always, inexpensive. All right. So if you want a font that's going to speak to the subconscious of general public and make them feel comfortable instantly, then you want to use a sans serif font. Or in more cases, if it's something, let me use the word forward thinking, modern, you know, those kind of things, you obviously want to use you want to use sans serifs. All right, I'm just going to go over this because of time. We have a lot to cover. Okay, so there are other types of fonts, right? They're decorative fonts, and they're usually designed to be used for attention getting headlines. Okay, also remember another word we could use for attention getting headlines. Attention getting headlines. Anybody, can anybody remind me of the design term you can use?
Display type.
Display type, exactly. Someone's mic is on. Who is that? Okay, I found the person. All right. So, right. So we can use them for a lot of display types. Thank you, Adibor. Very good. Right. Now, okay. So yeah, so this is some of them. Las Vegas, Castaway. These are the names of the fonts, basically. All right. Script fonts are designed to mimic handwriting. Therefore, the letters often touch one another. Okay. There's both the traditional type and the modern styles of scripts. So obviously, it makes no sense for you to try to use them in all caps because it's always a terrible idea. So these ones are more formal in terms of you most likely see things like this in weddings. If you're trying to do something that is like, very elegant but old, and then these ones are more modern script fonts. Okay. Handwriting fonts are designed to look like they were handwritten, all right, and not cursive-ish. Okay, so they can range from fancy adult scripts to a child scribble. So there are many of these: children, babyface, Comic Sans, cartoons, all manner of them. All right. Dingbats. Now, how many of you know about dingbats?
I've seen texts like this before, but I didn't know they were called bimbas, and I don't know their use.
Okay. So there are thousands of these things, right? And most people don't use them, obviously, but they're just small pieces of art used to enhance the design of text on page, right? So you see many of these things instead of, because now it's more mainstream for us to create these elements ourselves. At the time, it wasn't so easy. So many people would have had to, use these dingbats to work on their design, right? Instead of downloading them as maybe a PNG file or some of the things that we do now currently. So they're archaic in a sense. We don't use them anymore generally. Okay, but just so you know. Okay, so font sizes. No need to go into the details of font sizes. It just makes sense for you to understand from 6 to 200 and how they relate. Okay, basically you can reduce them, you can increase them depending on what you're trying to achieve. Okay, so obviously if you're using a display type, you're going to be looking around down here. If you're looking for body copy, you're going to be looking between 10, 12, maybe 9 to 14, worst case scenario, right? So some headers, you'll be looking around here. And then from here, headers, and then obviously this most likely be display type, and maybe even 84, 96, and 200, right? Assuming that we're working on like regular sheets of paper, okay? So it's a little things that matter the most. I already explained some of these things earlier when we were referencing design terms. Okay, the difference between just okay typography and professional level typography is usually the details. Many times, simply typing in text and formatting the font size and line spacing is enough. However, depending on the design, some extra attention may be needed. So, larger type sizes may need adjustment to the space between the characters. And what do we call that? Kerning, good, or tracking, right? Awesome. Thank you. And then you might also need to remove widows and orphans and then adjust the rag. I didn't mention rag earlier, but you'll find them here. Okay. So this is what the kerning is. I already explained kerning already. It happens mostly with serif fonts. All right. So kerning is the space between each letter or each character. Okay. Sometimes you need to adjust it to make it look more pleasant, right? Manually adjusted, automatic, or no kerning. All right. So whichever the case, ensure that you kern your texts. Okay. Tracking is basically the space adjustments, but it's more generic. So you're tracking, you're moving everything on Canva. It will be letter spacing. All right. You can reduce or you can increase it. Okay. So this is no tracking. 100, 400, minus 50, minus 100, depending on what you're trying to achieve. All right. Now, leading. Don't read this as leading, it's leading, all right? Or line spacing refers to the amount of space between lines. So on Canva, it will be called line spacing, okay? Yeah, because of time, we'll move on. I'll explain most of this already. So alignment, left alignment, center, right, justified. I went over this in the earlier classes, so this is I'm just going over it, okay? Now, line breaks and rags. So rags refers to the irregular or uneven margin, vertical margin of a block of type. Okay, usually it's a right margin that is ragged, but either both margins can be ragged. So you pay attention to the shape that the rag line endings make. Okay, so a good rag goes in and out from one line in small increments, but a poor rag is more disjointed. Okay, so you might need to manually achieve this sometimes to ensure that it's not so far away from each other, especially when it's in a box. Okay, so if you look at this, for example, and this, right, you can tell that this looks more, let me say, disorganized on this end, right, compared to this. So obviously the spaces are lesser, right, compared to this. Is just so much more disjointed than this. Okay, so it's one of those things that you just need to pay attention to and ensure that you are not having a design with terrible rag, right? So as we design and we start working on many of those designs, we'll start to see how they work in reality. Okay. Hyphens. Okay, so words are sometimes considered a necessary evil. I mean, hyphenated words, right, are sometimes considered a necessary evil in typography, but proper hyphenation allows for a better looking or tighter rag. So in case of a justified type, a more neutral, even text color. Hyphenation also allows more words to fit in a line, which saves space. Okay, so obviously, sometimes this will also depend on what you're designing with. If you're designing with Canva, chances are this will be an issue. Okay, so but for most people who design with more advanced softwares, you might have this kind of issues because when your software is trying to reduce the amount of size in a text box, right, it might hyphenate some of them. So, but if you're designing, try to avoid those hyphenations as much as possible. And sometimes you try to do hyphenations so that you don't have a terrible rag. Okay, but and sometimes they just are stressful to have. So ensure that you have a fine balance between whether you actually need an hyphen or you can actually just do without it. But do your best possible to ensure that you have a clean rag. All right. Widows and orphans, I explained this already. So a widow is, nobody, just all alone. An orphan is standing all by himself. All right, no parents. Okay, so imagine that this is the parent, and then this is just hanging out there with no parents. So this is a widow because the husband and wife are separated, right? So this is a parent, widow, orphan. All right. So it's when there's a single word or line that's left at the end of a column, and it's just completely the distance between that text and the rest of them is just terribly long. It's not aesthetically appealing. So ensure that you have as little widows and orphans as possible. Okay. All right. Yeah, this is just typography humor. So yeah, I hope you can see my screen. I don't think I need to explain the joke. Okay. You can laugh if you don't want to laugh, no problem. All right. So thank you. Any questions so far? Nobody has any questions? All right, so let's proceed then. Back to Canva. Right now, here we're discussing font psychology, right? So we did a lot on typography, but this time this is not just about typography, but it's about this font psychology, okay, and how they relate to people, right? So obviously, I mentioned some of these things earlier when I was describing the different typefaces, okay, and the different groups or the different classifications. Sorry, all right. So display types are usually friendly, expressive, unique, and amusing, right? Modern types are usually strong, progressive, stylic, chic. All right. Script fonts are usually elegant, affectionate, creative. All these things are things that we associate the different font classifications with. Okay. So here I'm going to give some examples. So here we're discussing sans serif, all right? And the personality is modern, clean, humanist, geometric, and universal. So some examples are Avenir, Futura, Gill Sans, Helvetica. Like I said, Helvetica is one of the most popular. Okay, so you compare them with serif fonts, with script fonts, with slab serifs. Okay, and we're going to see many samples of those when we are designing. All right, so you can use them on logos, body copy, titles, and small text. All right. Serif fonts, and obviously serif fonts are more traditional, sophisticated, reliable, practical, and formal. Some types of serif fonts are Baskerville, Didot, Garamond, or Georgia. Times New Roman is not here, but it's obviously one of them. So you pair serif fonts a lot with sans serif fonts, with script fonts, and display type. Okay. And then it can also be used many times on logos, on body copy, website text, titles, and printed materials. Script fonts are elegant, classic, formal, sophisticated, and stylish. All right. So some of them are Buttermilk, Edwardian, Isabella, Snail Round Hand. Okay. And you pair script fonts with serif or sans serif. You obviously can't pair script fonts with slab serifs or some other types of decorative fonts. Okay. So where do you use script fonts? On logos, on titles, on invitations. All right. And I mean, and now that you're hearing it, it obviously makes sense because you've seen designs and you know the kind of fonts they use on them. Slab serifs are bold, contemporary, trendy, and friendly, and also solid. All right. So some of them are Clarendon, Copsy, Josephine, and Muzio. You pair them a lot with sans serif, right? They will not work well with with serif fonts because you're mixing two similar types of fonts. Okay. Neither will they pair very well with script fonts because they are they have like very strong characters. Okay. And then you can use them a lot on logos and titles. All right. So next we're discussing image. All right. And you can tell stories in images. Now, images, first of all, let me go back to be sure no one has any questions. Do you have any questions so far on typography? Anybody?
No, I don't.
Good. All right. So let's move on to image right now. You can tell stories in images, and I've said this before earlier about how that the images you pick can, have I said this before? Let me be sure. I'm probably mixing this class up with another class, right? But let me say it now if I've not said it before. The images you pick they can determine to a very large extent the outcome of your design, because they say a picture says 1,000 words, right? So sometimes you just need the right image. See, sometimes when you're designing, you might need to spend 90% of your time trying to find the perfect image, and you have not wasted your time. Okay. Sometimes when you get the right image, you've done 90% of your work. Okay. So I'm saying this because I want you to pay attention to it. It's a very, very important part of your design, finding the right image. Okay. Obviously, so images represents what you're actually designing. You can visualize your thoughts in your design through images. Having relevant image on design makes it more relevant and understandable to your target audience. Okay. And when you're designing for kids, obviously you want to show them pictures of kids because they relate to them. Sometimes when you're designing for men, I'm sure, how many of us have ever heard of something called sex appeal? Anybody?
I have.
Right. Now, many times they use sex appeal when they're trying to design stuff for men. Okay. And now I'm thinking about when they design stuff for women, do they use guys? I don't know. I think they do, yeah, but I'm not sure it works as well as how it works for men. But basically, it's just pointing to the fact that images are powerful and you can use them. How many of you can notice my rule of thirds in this image?
I can't.
Good stuff. All right. But here, there's no rule of thirds, right? So it doesn't mean you have to use rule of thirds every single time, okay? So now the size, the type, the angle of using the image matter a lot. Not necessarily an image will be there in the way that it really is. So it can be given some modifications, but make sure you use the right image. So let me do something, right? So for example, right now, the way this image is, right, just to show you something about the way this image is like this, right? It evokes a type of emotion compared to when it's literally in the center, right? And compared to, imagine we did something like this. I'm coming. Okay, right? This isn't necessarily about evoking an emotion in the real sense of evoking an emotion, because what's evoking the emotion is the image itself, right? But you can connote different types of things with the images, okay, and how you treat them, and not just how you treat them, how you place them and how you arrange them. So I want you to start to pay attention to some of these things. When we get into practicals, I'm laying all of this foundation because I want you to be able to understand why I'm doing some of the things I'm doing when we start designing. Okay, like I said earlier, the why is more important than the what. Okay, so that's why we spent the last 2 weeks going over designing why. All right. Okay. Now, another thing you want to consider when or before you design is gender. Okay, and like I already even used an example of sex appeal, right? The people you are designing for will determine the kind of things you want to use. Okay, so obviously choice differs on basis of gender as well, because women's sense of color differs from that of men. So not only the color, but the choice of men and women are different as well. So I'll show you, you see this design, right? Or yeah, this photographic styling is very different from this, even though they are literally the same thing in a sense. They are there's a word for these things, care products, I think, right? Care products, accessories, those kind of things. But you can see that the image styling is totally different, because this is targeted at men and this is targeted at women. Imagine you use these images with this style, or these images with this style, right? You'd be sending mixed signals to your target audience. Okay, so yeah, that's something I want you to consider. So determining the kind of images you use, determining the kind of colors you use, determining the kind of fonts you use, determining the kind of arrangement sometimes. All right. Now, understanding who this design are meant for matters a lot. So you should not generalize your design if it's for a particular gender or a group. All right. Now, culture. You see, culture, it's actually very deep, right? Because many campaigns, like international campaigns, have gone wrong, like terribly wrong, because they didn't understand culture well enough. So you don't want to be in that shoe, I assure you, right? So design sense varies from area to area. An awesome design to a European may not be awesome to an Asian. I remember watching a series. The series was Emily in Paris. Who has seen Emily in Paris?
Me.
Any other? Okay, right. Now, if you've seen Emily in Paris, if you haven't seen, try to see it. It's nice. It's just feel good. I loved it. Right. Now, if you've seen Emily in Paris, do you remember when they were shooting that ad, right? And I can't remember the main character's name himself. She was complaining that, why would you do this? Right? You're objectifying the woman, right? But what she was doing was she was translating her American culture to French culture, because French culture is completely different from American culture. So you don't want to make that kind of mistake as a designer, because you think this is proper, it's going to work everywhere. It's not. Okay, so if you're designing for a specific set of people, you want to ensure that you have their cultural, you know the word I'm trying to find, right? Their cultural, their culture, understand their culture before you design for them, basically. All right. So this difference plays a big role in the design sense of people, like their clothes, their food, all the other differences, and the choice of people in different parts of the world. So ensure that you design for them. For example, how you can even easily tell, if you look at movies from Hollywood and look at movies from Bollywood and look at movies from like Korean series, you'd notice the color gradings are very different. Right? Can anyone like verify what I'm saying, if you understand?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So they look very differently in terms of like the color, right? Bollywood and the Korean series seem to always have more vivid colors, right? Yeah, but just so you understand, like, because they are targeting different sets of people, you need to ensure that you are designing for them and not for yourself. All right. And there are communities around the world. Each community has their own norms, their own culture. If your design does not match with the community it is meant for, then it's not going to add any value to them. Right? So it's very important that you take this into account while designing something for a particular group of people. All right. Now, I'm just going to add some extra design tips. But so far, is anyone lost? Do we have any questions? Is there anything that might have just been some, anything, any questions so far? All right, no questions. So, a few design tips. All right, use contrast to help your design stand out. And this is one of the major things that we're going to be doing as we start to design. Okay, in today's class, I'm going to go over some random designs, right? I will case study some designs from the internet, and then we'll design some together. And you're going to ask questions as I'm designing. If I'm designing and you have any questions, feel free to ask, why did I do what I did? I'll try my best to explain why I'm doing everything I'm doing. All right. So number one, use contrast to help your designs stand out. Okay. This is one of the most important lessons you would ever learn in design, contrast. All right. Sometimes you might not even get hierarchy right and every other thing, but if you don't get contrast right, nobody will even see what you're saying. Okay. So ensure that you do this, right? Second thing, choose a font collection. So instead of using all manner of different fonts, you can use the same fonts in different weights. So you can use heavy, regular, and light of the same font type just to make your design interesting. Okay. And that way you're using the same typeface, but different fonts. Okay. And it makes your design look interesting instead of using different typefaces. I mean, feel free to use different typefaces, of course, but just to make your design interesting, you can use different fonts in the same font family or the same typeface. Okay. To make your design look more interesting. And ensure that you have a body text that is easy to read. All right. Now, color palette. Pick your color scheme and it should be consistent. So before you design, try to have your color scheme ready. All right. Sometimes it might not work this way, but this is the ideal way. Okay. Pick your color scheme before you start to design. And you won't have any confusions about what color should I use here, what color should I use there. Okay. Lastly, contain your images. You can look at this, right? See grids and see a grid. There are two different grids, but they have one obviously looks proper and the other looks improper. Okay, so ensure that you contain your images properly. If you are going to have multiple images, contain them very well. Okay, I'm going to show you a classic example of, well, later in the class, right? But lastly, keep your design simple. Don't clutter your design. Choose each elements with great care. Okay, you know they say less is more, so remember that and apply that in your design. All right, so let's move on. Any questions before we finally blaze on? No questions. Very good. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. We are going to go to Pinterest as usual. Okay, let me share my browser screen. Okay, so we're going to go to Pinterest as usual. All right. Do you guys remember this from what I did with that picture? So yeah, I'm good. Okay, so now, first of all, we're just going to look around. Okay, and we're going to. I want you guys to, first of all, and I want everyone to participate. Okay, if you don't participate, I'll call your name. So try to participate. I want you to say anything you can notice. If it's a principle of design, if it's a an element of design, if it's a style, if it's a particular font family, if it's a whatever it may be, that you realize that, oh, I remember this from this class, I want you to start pointing them out. Okay, are we good?
Yes.
Are we good?
Yes.
All right, all right. So let's look at this, right? It's opening, right? So what are your observations? Anybody?
I think this looks very modern.
Perfect,
I
very
see
modern.
contrasting colors, some monochromatic looks. I see a lot of geometry.
Sweet. And plenty white space too.
Yes.
Thank you. So obviously, and also the font type they're using a lot of sans serifs, right? Because it's modern. Okay. All right, thank you. Here, this is pretty basic, but something you can point out. It's a principle of design.
I'm not sure, but is this 3D, three-dimensional?
Oh yeah, so this is three-dimensional in terms of design style. Yes,
Sorry,
three-dimensional in terms of design style, right? But in terms of principles of design, which principle of design was applied here?
Not sure. Repetition or
Exactly,
continuity.
repetition actually. Repetition. So continuity is in the start, right? But now I don't want you to get confused with all of these terms, right? But here it's actually repetition, but the repetition is not verbatim in the sense that they repeated the exact same thing. So this is like repetition with a twist. Okay. So yeah, I like that. I like that. You guys are picking this up really nicely. All right, how about this?
There is serif for the fonts.
Yeah, what type of serif to be specific?
Slab.
Slab serif, exactly. And why is it slab serif?
Because of the edges.
Yes, they're very thick compared to the regular serifs that are slim. Right? Good stuff, good stuff. I like that. Let me go somewhere else. Okay, how about this? What movements would this fall under? Anybody?
Is it like abstract or something?
Well, so the reason why it's not abstract is because we can still identify some of the elements that are here. So we can see, well, yeah, it's kind of like abstract actually. Yeah, it has some abstractions, actually, very true. It has some abstractions. But the abstraction is not extreme in the sense that we can still tell that this is like a jellyfish-ish, right? But in terms of the colors and the way it looks there's kind of a, anybody wants to try?
It looks like one of the vintage styles to me.
Exactly. It looks like one of the
Floral
vintage styles.
and the
Yes,
color
exactly,
schemes.
exactly. So somewhere around Victorian, or what's the second name? Somewhere around Victorian or
Art Nouveau.
Or arts
Arts
and crafts.
Nouveau.
I
No,
think
not Arts
it's
and Crafts. Arts and
yeah.
Crafts had too much white and black to be this. So it couldn't have been Art Nouveau, yes. Art Nouveau, that's the word. Yes, thank you guys. Yeah, so cool. I like that. We understand this already. So let's move on. Okay. So now I want us to come up with a brief. Okay. We're going to design something together. All right. So let's design. By the way, you guys did very well with your assignments. I'm going to go over that when we're done with what we're designing. But first, I want us to design something from scratch, okay? And obviously, part of the assignments is they are going to replicate it. So I want you to pay attention to it, okay? Now, let's get inspired from this, okay? Since we are in a modern world, right? So what I did was I just took a screenshot, okay? Now I'm going to share my Canvas screen. All right, create a new design. I'm going to do poster. No, let me do Instagram post. Okay, Instagram post, right? Now I'm going to paste that image. Okay, it's obviously not very clear, so we have an idea of the kind of things that we're looking out for. Okay, so I want us to go back to Pinterest and get inspired by something else. So I want us to come up with a brief of what we're going to design. Can anyone give us an idea? What should we design? Anybody?
Sorry, does it have to be similar with what you just pasted on Canva?
No, 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 no. Anything at all.
Okay.
You can
Anybody?
design a poster for a gallery opening, like an art
Gallery
show.
opening. Okay, cool.
An art show.
Okay, good. We're designing a poster for a gallery opening, right? What will be, so what we need, what details do we need, first of all?
Name of the gallery.
Name of the gallery. All right, so what's the name of the gallery?
TR Gallery.
All right, DR Gallery.
We can use maybe like relay or something. Oh, okay.
Okay, somebody came up with DR already. What will be the name of the exhibition?
One Starry Night.
One Starry Night.
Sights and sounds.
Okay, One Starry Night came first. Okay. What's the location for this exhibition?
New York.
Nice, I love it. Where in New York?
I don't know. Sha New York.
All right. Okay. So we have,
Ikeja,
how
New
about
York.
time? What'd you say?
No, I was just joking. I said Ikeja, New York.
All right, let's do that. Ikeja, New York. Okay.
Time can be 7 p.m.
7 p.m. All right. Okay, I think they usually spans across a number of days. So let's say from next week Monday, which is, what's next week Monday's date?
26th.
26th.
Sorry. Yeah, 26th.
To 31st of July. All right. So now let's just look at, so we have days of openings. Okay. So we have most of the information that we
26.
need. Come again. Okay. So we have all the details that we need right now. We have good contrast. Yeah. Why do we have good contrast? Because we can see the details clearly.
White and black.
Okay. It's black and white. Now, what's the first problem that we're having?
Too much space.
1, 2.
Hierarchy
Bad
of information.
rag.
Bad rag, obviously, yes. Any other
I
thing?
think hierarchy of information.
Exactly. There's no hierarchy of information. So yes, perfect. So we have to work on the hierarchy. Any other thing? So this
Font.
doesn't have to be a textbook answer. You can actually just think about what the solution might be. What do you say?
I think the typeface or the font
The font. Okay, the font is too what?
is too basic.
It's too basic for an exhibition. Okay, so what kind of font should we use for an exhibition?
Script.
Script?
No.
Are you doubting yourself? Okay, so it's also going to
It's
depend,
good to look
right?
good though.
So it's going to depend on the gallery. For example, if it's
Yeah.
MoMA, Museum of Modern Arts, right? You would not expect us to use a script font because
Yeah.
it's modern, right? But if we're going to use one of the galleries in Italy, maybe one of the oldest galleries that has like Michelangelo's paintings, right? Maybe we use a script font just because we want to resonate. Okay, so let's say this is a modern gallery, right? What font should we use? We would obviously be using a sans serif, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And another thing that I want you to start to consider is the fact that even though obviously the implication is that, oh, it's a modern gallery, so we should use a sans serif, because it's design, right? Sometimes you can, right? You can do the exact opposite just because. Okay, so it's like sarcasm sometimes, right? Not with the intent of being improper, but as long as you are able to convey the information as perfectly as you should. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make is that don't be surprised if a serif font actually works for this design. Okay, because it doesn't mean that every serif font signifies that it's old. Sometimes the serif fonts can signify that it's a classic thing, right? Not necessarily old. Okay, so the fonts have different characters, so we shouldn't just peg those characters. We shouldn't peg the characteristics of those fonts to one attribute alone. Okay, it can be multiple at the same time, and they can be used interchangeably. Okay, so we're most likely going to use a mix of sans serif and serif fonts, or basically sans serif fonts. Yeah. Confirmation.
Okay.
Yes.
Good
Yeah.
stuff. All right. So any other thing that's wrong, let's assume that this is the design. What else is wrong? What else do we need to work on?
No image.
No image. All right. So we need to get a nice image. Okay. Think. Another thing that we haven't done, what are the things that we haven't done that we should have done by now?
Choosing our color palette.
Good. Choosing our
Color.
color palette, yeah.
Yeah.
So apart from our color palette, what else? We should have determined the kind of image we're also going to use. All right. So let's move on to Safari. Okay, as we try to find a nice font to use. Okay, so first, let's find the perfect image. All right, so let me go to Unsplash. I also usually go to Raw Pixels because I like it. Oh, I said I was going to send you a list of some of these sites. I haven't sent it. Please remind me after this class so that I'll send them. Okay, so let's say we're searching for, what do they call this thing? Oh, now, first of all, you have to realize that the title, so two things. Number one, our design can be influenced, or our design is most likely going to be heavily influenced by the theme of the event instead of the nature of the event. So, for example, well, it's usually a mix of the two, but obviously the highest level of influence should be from the theme of the event. Okay, so One Starry Night is the name of the event. All right, so let's find out. How many of you know One Starry Night and what it is? Does anybody know what it is? Like, did anyone know it before now?
Yes, it's an artwork and an art piece
Good stuff. By
by
Vincent Van
Job.
Gogh.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, so how many of you have seen this before? I'm sure many of you know it.
Yes, I know it.
Mhm. All right, so now, many ways you can do this. All right, I don't know if I have the right to use this image, but just for the sake of this class, okay? So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to go back to Canva. So I'm doing this I didn't come up with a brief because I want you to like be a part of the process so you understand like every single decision I'm making. All right. Because I'm going to give you your assignment with the information that you gave me and you come up with your own solution. Okay. So I'm letting you understand this process so you know how to do it and you're not stuck when you're doing yours. Okay. So first thing, I'm going to paste the image. All right. Because this is one Starry Night. All right. Now, there are many ways to look at it. Okay. Should we abstract the image? Should we stick to a modern style? Should we determine this? First, determine the style we're going to use. Are we doing a modern design? Are we doing a so? What style should we use first of all? Modern, Art Nouveau, Art Deco, whatever. Suggestions, anyone? Whoever answers first.
Modern.
Modern, all right. Okay, so we're going to do a modern style. Yeah. All right. So let's do a modern style for this design. What are the things that characterize a modern minimalist design?
There's a lot of there's space,
Good. Lots of white space.
lot of white space.
What else?
Fonts are mostly are usually
No
sans
depth
serif.
of
Yeah, the fonts are usually most sans serif. Any other
there's
thing?
no depth of
No depth of field. Yeah. Any other one?
the colors are quite neutral.
The colors are quite neutral, true, right? All right, so we can start to work from there, all right, as we move. So name of gallery, first let's figure out our hierarchy, all right? What's the biggest thing on this? What should be the biggest thing on this design?
The name, dear.
The name of what?
Very nice.
Oh,
The theme.
What's the final answer?
The theme.
Very nice.
The theme, right? So one Starry Night should be the most should be the biggest thing on this design. So that's what we're going to use. All right. So one Starry Night, obviously promotion, increase in size. Okay. So now what I'm doing is I'm making it the largest thing here. Okay. Next, what else should we do next? What should be the second largest thing?
The gallery name.
Gallery name. All right, good stuff. Okay. And then third should be location and dates because we are practicing. What's the principle that makes us group them together?
Hierarchy.
Remember
Is it hierarchy?
CRAP.
Proximity, right?
Proximity, exactly. Thank you. Proximity. So because of date and time, they'll be usually around the same area, usually around the same font size. All right. So let's do something like this. I'm just going to cut this, okay, and paste this and do something like this. All right. Now, there's one journey I skipped. Typically, before I even start to design, and this is a personal, before I start to design, once I've determined the style I'm going to use, the first thing I do is go online and look at people's designs. All right. So let's do that really quickly and we'll see where I'm going to draw inspiration from and then we'll proceed. All right. So first of all, let's do what are we designing? Exhibition design. All right. Okay, so now it's actually showing the exhibition. So let's do exhibition poster design. Good. All right, now let's look at it. Oh, most of the ones we are seeing here are what? Modern as well. Modern. This, what style is this? Minimalist, I meant. What style is this? Anybody?
Display type.
Come again?
Display type.
I didn't hear you.
Display type.
Okay, no. I meant like what style, like design style.
Oh.
Art Nouveau, Art Deco, you know, those kind
This
of things.
grunge.
This? No, it's not grunge. What are the characters of grunge?
Is it? Okay.
First of all, remember the characteristics of each style as you give me
That
your
one
answer.
that looks like a scrapbook type of
Exactly,
design,
exactly. What's the
pictures
name of
and
that? Can anybody help out with the name? That was literally the assignment I gave you.
Postmodern.
Postmodern, yes, right? And what are the characters of postmodern design?
Overlapping elements.
Overlapping elements. What's the most obvious?
High
Tilted
contrast.
axis.
Oh,
Yeah, high
sorry.
contrast is there too. High contrast is there actually. One of the most obvious principles of that is tilted axis. Like almost nothing here is on a straight line in terms of horizontal and vertical, right? So anyways, let's move on. All right, so if you look closely, you start to see this design looks very simple. This is already looking like what we're designing, right? Shay is very similar to what we're designing already, and you can tell by the hierarchy as well. Okay. So this is also nice. I like this one too. I like this too. So I have an idea and it just crossed my mind. So let's do something like, I want us to do a mix, okay? So I want us to have a mix of shapes, something like this. You know how this circle is where there's these shapes are, the design is inside the shape, okay? I want us to do something like that. And then we're basically going to frame the image, okay? And then we'll have our text somewhere nice because it's a modern minimalist design, all right? Minimalist, sorry, not modern, minimalist design, okay? Are we good? All right. So back to Canva, okay? So how are we going to achieve that? I'm going to create a new page first of all. There are many ways to do that because I'm moving this to another page because I want to focus on this first, okay? So let's say this is the space, you know what? Okay, so I want this to look very much like the previous one we saw, okay? So let's do one starry night, all right? Now I'm going to align this to the left, okay? And see what I'm doing. I'm keeping everything in the rectangle, okay? I mean, it doesn't always have to be like that, but I'm choosing to do that now. So no, I'm reducing the line spacing, all right? Now, I want to change the fonts. I don't particularly love this font, so I'm going to change the font to something modern and maybe a font that everyone has. Is Evolve a Pro Sans? Oh yes, it's a Pro font. Oh, Evolve Enter is not. Okay, so I want to pick something that has line widths. All right. So let's do sans serif. I remember what I said about using the same fonts in different widths. So basically using fonts in the same typeface. Okay. So maybe using heavy, medium, light. All right. So let's find a nice font that has different widths. It's serif font that has different widths. Open source. So there's open source light, open source semi-bold, and open source. All right. So let's do open source semi-bold for the main body copy. Sorry, for the header. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to separate these two. Okay. So Ikeja, New York. This is so funny. So I'm just going to separate them. Although they'll be close together, but I don't want them to be on the same line. All right. Now, one staring at. So I'm going to align this to the left. Okay, so that they will be And then what font is this again? Open source. So I'm just going to change this to open source as well. Okay. Reduce the size. All right. And then let me just bring this down. Paste. Open source. What font size is this? This is, let's say 26. Okay. I'm going to size this at 26. Okay. Now you see that there are different line widths. So I'm just going to make them the same. I'll change this to open source instead of open source enabled. So open source. Okay. Ensure that they are all positioned to the left. All right. So my alignment is sharp. So I'm going to group them, keep them right at the top corner left. Okay. Now DR gallery is the name of the gallery. So I'm just going to keep this on the right. Okay. I mean, I could have kept this up here, right? And it will work. Maybe I should just do that. Let's use open source. But this time I want to change the color of this to the color of the blue from here. Okay. Or you know what? No, I'm going to keep it that. I'll change this to the color of the blue. Okay. And then I'll bring everything down to this corner. Okay. Now what do I do with this? You see that this is not aligned. So I'm going to position everything again. Position them to left. Okay. So one Starry Night, DR gallery, right? Now, what do I do? We are very close. Okay. So now there are many ways that I can handle this. All right. I can just have this here, right? And make it long. Okay. And we have a nice minimalist design. Honestly, this is a nice design. Okay. Let me bring this a little so there's enough space. Okay. So I'm just going to drag this so it can show this part of the building. Okay. This can work, right? I'll duplicate this page and do something else. All right. So remember I said I wanted to create some sort of let me not say collage, grid. Okay. So let's assume this is it because I want this yellow part to show as well. Okay. So I'm going to copy this. I just right clicked and I've copied. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'll start to adjust this. Now as I adjust this, you see it's adjusting. Okay. If I paste, it's going to paste in the exact same place. If I adjust this and I move it up, can you see what's happening? Please respond so I know that you understand what's happening.
Yes, yes, yes.
Good stuff. All right. So if I move this to the right, okay. So I'm just trying to make it a little more interesting. Okay. So you could have gone as this and it will be fine. There will be no problem. But you could have also gone as this, which I think is a little bit more interesting, but still works as well. Okay. Now, it could have also gone to be a little more interesting by increasing the grid or increasing the number of grids. Okay. So imagine I do something like this. Okay. And then I align this to this. Remember the last design tip I gave you? Place your image properly, right? So this is doing that in practice. Now you want to ensure that the size is the same. How do you ensure that? I used to make a ruler. Okay. So I'm going to make a ruler here. All right. So I'm going to rotate this just to be sure that the size is the exact same because that's my goal. So I'm going to reduce this. Okay. Good. Good. So rotate. Okay. So I need to bring this out a little. All right. Now we are good. Okay. So same design. All right. And I could have even made it more interesting by making it not that geometric. Okay. Not geometric in the sense that I could delete let me bring this down, right? You could keep this here and delete this, okay? So it won't exactly be geometric, but it will just have nice elements of different bits and pieces. And then I'll paste this again. I'll just have one tiny bit up here, just because. Okay. So, stuff like that. Just trying to make your design as interesting as possible. Okay. So we moved from this to this to this and then this. All right. Now imagine we wanted to take a completely different approach. All right. Oh my God, it's past 10. Okay. A completely different approach. We could do something like this. Put the whole image on the background. Okay. And then subtract. All right. So I'm going to copy this. Insert a white rectangle and then paste this. Okay. So I'm going to centralize this. Sorry. Let me paste this and group it. Okay. So after grouping it, I'll centralize this. Middle, sorry. I'll align it to the middle and then align them together to the middle. Select it to this and then position everything, align every single thing to the middle. Okay. And then change the color of this to white. Okay. Now, this is another approach at being minimalist. All right. And if I just wanted to be a little extra, I might just do something like this. This is a tiny bit of, what do they call it? Repetition. Okay. Just because, of course. And if I just want to also be a little bit more interesting, I can change the color of this to the color of this yellow. But how do I find this exact yellow? So I'll take a screenshot of this. Okay. And then create a new page and paste it here. So when I paste this here, right, it's going to generate a new set of images for me in the color section. Okay. So this is it. All right. Now, if you notice something that's here, have I taught you about color codes? Hello?
No, you haven't.
Okay, so let me tell you about color codes. Color codes, every color has a color code, right? So you see this thing where you have CF, this thing under the key, so when you click on color, for example, right? You see this number, this is a color code. So typically different brands have different color codes. I thought I explained it when I was explaining Pantone. When I was saying that you might use the same color code and it will show differently on different screens. You can use the same color code, and when you print it out, it will come out differently. But the Pantone is there to regularize the different color codes. Okay, so a color code is like every color has a color code, so it's kind of like the name. So, for example, 000000 is black. Okay, and then white is FFFFFF is white. Okay, so different colors have different color codes. So you can pick a color from here by selecting on this picker tool. Okay, and then imagine that I just wanted to pick this color. Ta-da. So I could have actually done without creating this page. I'll just come here, select, come to color, pick, come up here and select a yellow spot. And then there you have it. Right? So, right. All right. So I'm going to move on from here, right? Because of time. So I'm going to share this with everyone. Now, when I'm going to share a brief with us, so it's just going to have information about what I want us to design. Okay, so I want you to come up with a minimalist design that has all the details I'm going to share, which is just going to be a little different from this. Okay, so it's at your discretion. I want you to come up with 3 different designs, something similar to what I did. Have some variations. Okay, whatever the variations maybe color related, maybe arrangement, maybe layout, maybe image, whatever the variations are, right? So just come up with the different variations. All right, so 3 different variations from the design that I'm going to send you. Okay, so I'll just share a brief, basically what you gave me: name, detail, name, theme, address, and location, basically. All right. And we use the same style, minimalist. All right. Are we good?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Awesome stuff.
Uh,
I like that. I
are
like
we
that. So
doing different variations
yeah.
of
Are we doing what? Come again?
design? Like 3 different variations of the same design, like you did, or we're doing 3 different designs for
No, 3 different variations of the same design, like I did, just like I did.
uh,
Yeah. Is everyone clear?
Yeah.
Awesome. So we're done with today's class. I just want to go over the assignments as promised. And I'm going to make some comments based on the feedbacks and all of that. All right. Are we good with that? It's already past 10, so I'm sorry it's already taking a lot of time. Okay. So hold on while I share my screen. By the way, can I get feedback on the assignment? What was the most difficult part of the assignment for you?
I think for me it was very detailed. So
It was very
having
what?
to pay attention detailed,
Okay, good stuff.
having to pay attention to every single detail and to replicate it was a lot.
Interesting. Okay. But you were able to do it, yeah?
Yes, I was.
Nice. I like that. Any other feedback?
It was almost the same thing. Putting all the pieces of the poster together. I had to be very careful not to make an error, but other than that, it was fine.
Nice. I like that. All right. So I'm going to go over the assignments. All right. Let me share my screen now. Hold on. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right, nice. This is actually very good. Whoever this is, you did a really great job. I can't even tell the difference. Oh, I can tell now, but it's not a lot. Really good. Really good. I like this. I like this. I really like this. Now, I really like this. Okay. This is nice. So this is, what style is this? Whose assignment is this?
It's my
Okay, Adiboro.
minimalist style.
Obviously, I like this. Well done. Nice. Okay, yeah. So feedback. This is actually really good. I like it. It's very minimalist, obviously. A lot of white space, I like it. Well done. Nice. Wow. I'm really impressed. You guys did this assignment very well. I'm very happy to get this kind of work. I like this. Minimalist here. Whose design is this? Oh, Comfort. Comfort, are you there? Okay, I don't think she's there. I see. This is obviously minimalist. The gray scales, a lot of white space. Nice. Very nicely done. Well done, Comfort. This is good. What comment do I have? Maybe just the space between here, right? It feels like a lot. So maybe this, right? But beyond that, yeah, it's very nice. I like it. Okay. Okay, this person's is from the previous assignment. Great attempt, actually. This person got the confetti, really nice. So this wasn't the exact one I used, but this is very close actually. So the font I used, what I used here for those who weren't there was I just said for confetti. Okay. And if you search for confetti, you will find the exact one that I used, which had a purple and pink type of thing, but it's down here somewhere. Because of time, I'm just going to move on. But this is really good. Well done. So here, what I did here was, it wasn't this shape, right? So what I did here was a circle with a rectangle. Okay. So basically, this, except of course it was straight. So I'm trying to make it to the exact same size, 725 width, 725 height. Okay, it's not there, but it's close. Okay, and then bring this up and then add a rectangle. Because of time, I don't want to stay too long here. Okay, same height, same width, sorry. And then reduce the height to, you get to the center and then drag this down and you have exactly what I did. Okay, so pretty much all you just need to do is finesse this place by adjusting them perfectly. Okay, and here I didn't use a circle, I used a, oh, and I see what you did here. Nice, nice. But what I did here actually was I used a picture of a frame. So I explained frames at the beginning of the class when I was explaining all the different elements. And I didn't use a circular frame. I used one of the organic shaped frames. So it was this one perfect specifically. And then all you need to do is drag the image into the background. So I say the background has been removed, so it doesn't have the shape that it's supposed to have. But basically, when you do that, you can adjust the image. Imagine that the background was still there, okay? And that's how I did that. Yeah, and then this is good, except the only difference here is, oh, I see. Okay, so this person did the exact same thing again. So what would have been much easier actually is just to make, it's just to, when you insert the, sorry, I'll duplicate this. Once you insert the image, right, delete. Once you insert the image, let's say elements lady, okay, photos. Imagine this was the image, right? All you need to do is just drag this to the rectangle size and then you can move this. So while it's loading, okay, I've changed the position to take it to the back. So you just bring this up, okay, and bring this down and we are done. Then you double click inside this rectangle to adjust the image depending on what you want to achieve. So there you go. That's how I did that. All right. Polka dots, this is really good. Whoever this is, well done. I like it. Nice. This was very good. So I think the only other details were, some of those things on the background that you didn't add, but this is a good attempt. And then apart from that, it's just here. So if you notice, you see that there's a lot of space here, right? Space on the left, space on the right, which is very different from what I did. Not too different, but very different. So the only other thing is you haven't created your own personal design. So I'll still be expecting that. Feel free to create a new page, add it and share the same link with me. All right, but well done. Nice. This is very good. Whose assignment is this?
Is mine?
Victoria.
Yes.
Nice. This is very good. You have a white guitar. How nice. I like this. This is like almost perfect. So if you see the difference between this and the one that the previous person did, right, you can tell the difference. So if you notice my design also, I'm going to open it back up so you can see it clearly. So this was obviously 2 lines. So it took care of this space very well, as opposed to what we have here. All right. So what you want to do is reduce the size, and not just reduce the size, reduce them to 2 lines. Okay. So, and then instead of this display bold is regular display. And then I think there's some line spacing increase here. So just keep them on the same line spacing and then use the same size. So let's say 6. Okay, so I'll just increase it. Okay. Yeah, so there you go. And then you just adjust it accordingly. Okay. And if you notice there's something else under, right? So do the exact same thing. I'm actually very impressed with everyone in this class. Thank you so much. This is really good. I love it. I'm very happy that you guys are making so much progress. So yeah, this is very good. And then if you notice, so these are the things that are just missing, all these tiny elements. Okay. If you notice, they are not here. So you need to add them to make it perfect and complete. All right. All right. Nice. So this is your um minimalist design. Very nice. The only comment would be the redness. Okay, so most minimalist designs, I mean, it's minimalist in style, obviously, but the color. So to be more minimalist, you probably want to use if you really wanted to do a minimalist design, right? You would have a white background and then the text would be red instead, because this is more more is busier this way. It's busier the other way than when you actually have text in this color. Okay, so yeah, I think I did something wrong. Oh, there's basically, so that's my only suggestion. But apart from that, this is really good. Well done. I love it. Nice. Oh my God, I'm really happy. I really like this. You guys are doing very well. Ah, Kokomo, the album launch. What's the challenge here? Can you see it already? Whose design is this? Can you point it out already?
It's mine.
All right. Can you see what's wrong here?
Yes, I
What
found
is it?
all the
Come again.
I'm trying to put this into it. The texts are all joined together. The information is compressed together.
Yeah, that's one. Also, if you notice here, there's supposed to be space here
Yeah,
between date and
venue.
venue, right? But apart from that, if you look at the arrangement, you notice that we have more space up than down. Can you see that?
Yes, I can see that.
Exactly. So raise this up just a bit and then bring them up to be centralized. Okay. So we have uniform space up and down. All right. All right. And then what I think you could have also done is for the name, right? I want you to there could have been a separation, okay, just to make it a little more separate. And then if you notice here, look at my hierarchy. What was the biggest thing here?
The name.
The name, right? Because it's a new artist. Well, the logic is he's a new artist. Obviously, he's still trying to get his name out there. So that's why the name is the biggest thing. All right. So here the hierarchy is reversed. All right. So note for those kind of things. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, but this is nice.
So I
This is
have
good
a
attempt.
question.
All right, please feel free.
Do you think that the album launch, the launch,
Yeah.
do you think that there can be some kerning there, or is it just my eyes? I mean, between the A,
And you.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There should be some kerning there. Evidently, there should be some kerning here, right? Even here. Okay, no. There's no need for kerning here, but here, right? And it's because of the type of font you used, and also because it's also italicized as well. If it wasn't italicized, it wouldn't be that obvious. Okay, but yes, it needs some kerning. So you would have to separate them and then bring them closer. Okay, so yeah, very nice for you to point that out. Thank you. Good stuff. All right. I really like this class. You guys are doing very well. Okay, so I addressed this already. Okay, I addressed this already too. And this Polkadot design is very nice. I like it. Whoever this assignment is done, whoever did this assignment did a good job, except this is not as close to this as I expected, and they should be both white. But yeah, this is nice. Ah, this is so beautiful. I love it. Well done. Whoever this assignment is, ha ha ha. I really think this person has a premium account. But yeah, Well done. This is very nice. The image is in high resolution and you can tell the difference, right? So yeah, if you have the money, please spend it, invest in good work. You would get better clients for that. All right, all right, all right. Are we done for today? Any questions? Now, one thing I also want you to do for your assignment is when you're sending me your assignments, I want you to I want you to do it in Instagram size. All right, don't forget Instagram size, and I want you to share it on social media when you're done. Okay, number one, I want you to I want to see 5 sheets, 5 pages on your design. So let me show you 5 pages on your design. Create new design. All right. Where's Instagram?
Sorry, please, your screen is really zoomed out, zoomed. I can't really see it clearly.
Okay, let me share then. Okay, so can you see my screen now?
It's still the same.
It's still the same.
Yeah.
Is that a challenge for everyone?
No, it's not for me.
Oh, okay.
No.
So
No.
maybe check.
No, not for me.
Okay, so check maybe if there's a setting on your Zoom or maybe on your screen that you need to adjust. So, what was I saying? So I want to see 5 sheets. Okay, 5 pages. Come to File, create new design, Instagram. Where is Instagram? Have I passed it? Am I getting old?
It's just above logo.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see it. Instagram post, right? You can always type too. Okay. Now, 5 pages. On the first page, you're going to have your text. Okay. So when I send you the text, you just put all the text here, the same way I did it in my design. On your second page, you're going to have your inspiration design. So you go online, find inspiration somewhere. If it's 1, if it's 2, if it's 3, if it's 4, if it's 5, put everything on this page. Okay. Now, on your third page is where I want to see your first option of your design. Your second, third page, fourth page is your second option. And then your fifth page is your third option. And when you're sharing these designs, I want you to share 1, 2, and 3 on Instagram. Okay. And then tag design with DR, tag Canva, tag, you might just be sponsored. But anyways, I need you to, like I said earlier, I want you to start to get comfortable with getting your work out there because it's going to help you as well. Okay. Are we good to go?
Yes, we are.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your extra time. I trust that you've learned very well. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask on the group. And have a good night, everyone. Thank you so much. If you haven't submitted your assignment, please, I'd like you to submit them so that we can all learn together. All right. Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good night.
Good night.
Good
Bye.
night.
Good night.
Good night.